All right. Wanted to follow up with a brand new episode of FULK IT. I think this is episode 7. It's just going to be me flying solo. Tomorrow, I'm going to do another one with Tim. We're going to talk some about AI and trying to find a job. But I saw this excellent article and I wanted to talk some about it because I couldn't quite fit it into a short or reel on Instagram or LinkedIn. I need maybe 5 or 10 minutes to really explain what I'm thinking. There was this article yesterday about an AWS executive, Amazon exec, saying that it was one of the stupidest things he's ever heard to fire junior employees to try to replace them with AI. Of course, this is absolutely true. Glad somebody's saying the obvious out loud. But I wanted to dive into it a little bit more, pull that thread, so to speak, before we get into this longer discussions later on down the road. And in the article, I saw where the executive was saying that, junior employees, they'll be the ones who know AI tools the best to use them. And that's true. Um, not all AI is really bad. Generative AI, I don't know how much good is in the generative AI stuff, but you want people who are familiar with the approaches, and that's true. And it also holds outside of AI. Usually, your junior employees coming in are more familiar with the latest tools in general. Latest languages, programming languages they pick up in school, um, techniques for engineering, software systems, etc. They're going to know the latest software. They're going to use it in school. Whereas your mid and your senior career folks, they haven't necessarily touched the new stuff because you're building systems and they've run 5, 10, 20, 30 years, 50 years sometimes. So you definitely don't want to lose your junior folks because they're bringing in new knowledge, new tools, and your mid-career people are the ones who are doing project leads, design, um, mentoring the junior staff in some ways on what's appropriate to use out of the new set of tools, how the code base works, how the systems work in your company, general processes. And they are bringing in the new stuff where it's appropriate on new projects and design. Your mid career is guiding the junior staff so that they learn and develop their skill sets with older existing technologies and really master the craft, right? Like junior staff haven't really mastered the craft. They've learned enough to get to the point where, they get a job and they're part of the company. And then their career, they master the craft as they kind of learn and are mentored. Your mid-career staff, though, they are mentored in some ways by the senior staff. And your senior staff, their job is, looking over the mid-career, the project lead, the design work, the architecture. And there's this handoff period where you're going to be a mentor to the mid-career. You're going to help them understand, the business better. You're going to help them understand the pitfalls that have already occurred in the business, the technology landscape trends, how not to chase these kind of big hype bubbles. This is on the senior staff. You don't want your junior career people to worry about hype bubbles and technology. They're learning and using what's there. They've got a long road ahead for mastery of the craft. And your mid-career folks, they're mentoring and leading the projects at the project levels. Someone needs to be looking out at the broader scope, the broader landscape of the tech world, and making sure your company isn't heading into dead ends or hype bubbles. So, what happened to the senior staff here? Because, I mean, we're going to see some more dead count cat bounces in AI. We're going to see people kind of claiming, oh, these other paths for AI, Gen AI, I'm talking about generative AI, other paths, They're going to very shortly abandon the idea of AGI. It's going to be abandoned. There is no path to generalizable intelligence. It's not defined in any way, shape, or form, such that even if there were improvements, you couldn't even know if it was towards a generalizable intelligence. It's not defined. There's so much work there to be done and no path from LLM to that. So this whole hype bubble is going to explode. It's already started. It's just unwinding a massive bubble like this. It doesn't happen overnight. There's going to be tugging and pulling inside of organizations because you've promoted inside of these companies, you promoted senior staff who were true believers. The last 3 to 5 years have been moving people up the ladder who were like, AI is going to take over the world. We're going to have AGI in 1 year. We're going to have autonomous driving cars in 1 year. Elon Musk said we're going to have driving by themselves. We need a whole autonomy division. We need a whole AI division. We're about to like have the greatest progress in the world on AI. People were saying crazy, ridiculous stuff, not just fire staff, not just fire junior or mid-career or senior staff and replace them with these garbage autocorrect token predictors. They were saying things like, hey, take your old code base and we'll rewrite the whole thing using LLMs, using AI. No, no, you're not. That's ridiculous. That's not going to happen. You can't do it. Hey, oh, by the way, we're going to have AI trying to cyber hack into like systems. They're going to write their own code to do like exploit, systems and then run it, compile it, land themselves on the target, and then do the offensive operations. AI was going to do it all. Like, nah, man. No, it's not. That's ridiculous. They were going to solve unprovable theorems that people haven't solved. No, no, they're not. Cure cancer. No, no, no. Ridiculous statement after ridiculous statement came from your senior leadership on this technology, and they should have known better. Yeah, they should have known better. So here I am asking this question because I know the outcome. The outcome is a mania, a bubble always bursts, holds on a long time, much longer than anybody thinks. There's a huge misallocation of resources. It's terrible for the economy, but it bursts. And it's about to happen, is what I believe now. We're seeing kind of the first dips in the stocks. We're seeing the first kind of people are acknowledging that AGI isn't anywhere close. But they're going to come out with some new, oh yeah, now actually we'll be able to do this, right? Agents clearly aren't panning out. RAG didn't pan out. And all the other things that are on the table are not going to pan out either. Like all the other things are this miracle technology is going to do, it's not going to do it. Here's what it does. It helps your kids cheat. Kids right now going back to school, they're using Chat GPT. Their friends are using it. They're going to use it. The teachers have no way to stop it. Your teachers may, in fact, because they're overworked and underpaid, be using it themselves. So we're jeopardizing our kids' education for what reason? I mean, the old hype was we're going to build Skynet, and Skynet is going to save us all. We're going to cure global warming. We're going to like defend ourselves from the enemies of the world like China who are also pursuing Skynet. No, no, that's not going to happen. Not a chance. So why are we risking our kids' education? Like, what recklessness is it to leave ChatGPT in the wild? Like, there's no path to AGI. You can't fire people. So, of course, this whole thing's going to blow up and people are going to try to run away. They're going to try to say they never said it. They're going to try to say, oh, yeah, everybody knew this. That's about to happen next is the everybody knows this argument is going to hit. But your senior leadership should have known better. You shouldn't have promoted people into positions based on hype. They should have been able to demand evidence for outrageous claims. It was an outrageous claim to say you were going to build some AGI. It was an outrageous claim to say you can replace people with a next token predictor. You should have questioned it. Why didn't you question it? We knew how it worked. We knew it what it did. It was just a claim of magic that if you threw enough data at it, it could start to think. So, what I'm going to continue to do from here on out is remind people that these data centers use an enormous amount of energy. My electricity bill's gone up. How about yours? Water, fresh, clean drinking water it uses. The biggest, you know, end use case for this right now is your kids cheating in high school and college. Why do we want our kids cheating and not learning? People are having psychotic breaks from reality because they've been chatting with these things as if they're real. And we're going to see more and more of that, is my guess, because that's part of the mania that's driving it is people start interacting with it and talking with it like it's an it. And it fools your brain. And instead of protecting our brains, we've gone headfirst into AIville. Terrible decision. So, yeah, can it maybe come up with a template that looks a little bit like something that got off Stack Overflow? Yeah, can, big deal. I could have done that myself. I could have used my brain, kept my brain sharp. Can it maybe write an email for you? If you write the email with AI and somebody else summarizes it with AI, why did you even need to write the darn thing? There's almost no good use case for generative AI, except if you're trying to run an influence campaign online, you can generate massive quantities of realistic looking text based on a persona. So you can have people pretending like they're really care about a subject and they're not real and they're putting out content that you want them to put out for whatever reason you're trying to influence somebody. Yeah, and you can make deep fake porn. Heck yeah, you got all these like realistic video things that aren't really that realistic, but they're getting better. And yeah, you can have pornography that looks like your neighbor. Okay, great. Suppose your neighbor is in high school. Not so great. Almost nothing in this tech falls into any kind of ethical framework. So I think I'm going to leave it there because there's a lot more to talk about here. But agree with the AWS exec. There was no reason to ever even mention that we could fire people with an LLM, with a large language model trained on stolen data off the internet. None, none. Your senior leadership should have known better. And I'm going to keep saying this because they should have stopped it. Bulk it. Bulk it. I'll leave the other finger thing for later.